Previously on Urdess Ascending, in the enchanting land where our stories unfold, there once lived a dragon named Urdess the Great. Known for his immense hoard of treasures, Urdess' most prized possession wasn't gold or gems, but his glittering scales that sparkled like jewels. Though he might not joke about them as the narrator suggests, he certainly takes pride in them. One day, while Urdess was exploring his lair, he discovered his flexible neck frills could be used like wings, a revelation that opened up new possibilities for the mighty dragon. Testing his newfound ability, Urdess also learned his frills were surprisingly dexterous, capable of gently grasping objects. During one of his adventures, Urdess found a diamond-studded bracelet buried in the ground. Determined to discover its origins, Urdess and the narrator spun a tale of a lost princess who desperately sought her favorite bracelet, a cherished gift from her grandmother. The princess's father, the king, sent out search parties, including the Grand Duke William, to recover the precious item. As fate would have it, Urdess came across the Grand Duke and promised to help find the bracelet. Using his dragon powers, Urdess located the bracelet and, despite facing fierce winds and a threatening storm, managed to return it to the castle. His perseverance and bravery earned the gratitude of the princess and the admiration of the kingdom. This heroic deed marked the beginning of many adventures for Urdess, showcasing his ability to turn challenges into opportunities for building bridges and fostering goodwill. With the narrator by his side, Urdess continues to explore new stories and bring peace to the land. Chapter 2: Building Bridges. Urdess awoke feeling especially peppy one sunny morning. He whistled cheerily as he gathered juicy berries for breakfast. But the dragon's happy mood shifted to surprise when he spotted something by his cave entrance. "Great golden goblets! I've received a letter by carrier pigeon," exclaimed Urdess. Unfurling the tiny scroll, he quickly read the polite request for help from a small village dealing with a bothersome wolf pestering their food supplies. "Odd, wolves don't normally steal from people," mused the dragon as he shared the note with the narrator. "This sounds like a perfect opportunity for Urdess the Helpful." With an enthusiastic flap, the colorful dragon lifted skywards towards the distant village surrounded by emerald hills and whispering forests. As Urdess soared over lazy rivers and mossy boulders, he pondered how best to assist both predator and townspeople. Surely there was a peaceful solution if both sides communicated openly. By mid-afternoon, Urdess glided down towards a quaint gathering of thatched stone cottages and pastures dotted with grazing sheep. Several villagers waved eagerly as the vibrant dragon landed dexterously by the town well. "Greetings. I hurried as fast as I could flap after receiving your letter," announced Urdess. "I am Urdess, a traveling problem solver and dedicated do-gooder." "Bless your shiny scales, we are relieved you've arrived," said Willa, an elderly lady leaning on an oak cane. A small crowd had gathered, murmuring words of thanks and encouragement. "Now then, please detail this vexing wolf situation," requested Urdess, noticing hungry-looking faces. Lady Willa described how every 2 weeks, like clockwork, a young silver wolf with amber eyes had been sneaking in at night to snatch bread, cheese, vegetables, and preserved meats to survive the harsh winter months. But this left the equally desperate villagers with depleted food stores and rumbling stomachs. Both parties were growing more anxious by the day. Urdess nodded thoughtfully as tensions ran high on both sides. "Right then, why don't we attempt to parley with this lupin thief before further mishaps occur? I shall try to broker a compromise." The village agreed, and several foresters led Urdess towards the lively woods. Birds twittered merrily in swaying treetops, while squirrels scampered to and fro over carpets of emerald moss. Deeper still, they came across the wolf pup anxiously gnawing a stale loaf beneath the boughs of a towering oak dripping with vines. "Pardon me, young fella," coughed Urdess gently so as not to startle the skinny pup. "Might we have a word regarding recent food foraging? I believe introductions and understanding could help both man and beast." Timidly, the pup turned with ragged ears lowered submissively, bracing for aggression. Instead, Urdess offered a friendly smile. "Come now, no need for raised hackles between fellow forest friends. I know you must be awfully hungry to risk raids near humans." Seeing the dragon meant no harm or rebukes, the young wolf finally spoke. "My name's Fawn, and yes, it's true, I have taken food that wasn't mine," confessed the pup guiltily. "But ever since losing my pack parents to hunters last moon, I've struggled to survive alone as winter sets in." Sympathetic murmurs spread among the townspeople as Urdess nodded sagely. "Quite understandable needing to supply yourself, though clearly, less scarcity exists together than separately." Discussion continued until Urdess struck an ingenious compromise. With tensions eased between the villagers and the once troublesome wolf, Urdess was pleased his mediation was proving effective. But new rumors of a much larger, aggressive gray wolf pack approaching from the mountains threatened to destroy the delicate peace. Alarmed villagers informed Urdess they had sighted scouts from the pack boldly entering the valley to assess prospects. It seemed only a matter of days before the aggressive beasts would grow bold enough to strike. Troubling news indeed, rumbled the dragon. Conflict breeds only more conflict. These wolves likely seek better hunting grounds to feed their hungry pack. Perhaps we should invite their leader to parley? The villagers were skeptical that negotiations would work. Still, placing hope in their dragon envoy, they assisted in composing a letter for the alpha wolf and spread the word of a meeting. Within a fortnight, a response arrived. The pack leader accepted the discussion offer. Arriving under twilight skies swirling with snowflakes, the huge black-furred alpha listened to proposed resolutions with yellow eyes gleaming. Possibilities could include Urdess brokering a tenuous arrangement allowing monitored access, redirecting the pack's efforts towards better game sources deeper in the valley, or even working with townsfolk to set aside scraps. Dragon could win over cubs to foster goodwill through friendship. "Oh, I'm sure we can find an arrangement so everyone eats well," proclaimed Urdess as the famished wolf told his tale. Soon enough, the clever dragon facilitated a plan for villagers to leave food scraps while Fong limited his scrounging. Over subsequent days, the growing accord was threatened by howls of an aggressive pack approaching the valley's edge. Nervous shepherds reported seeing vicious beasts boldly assessing the fat flocks. Urdess grew worried if they turned desperate from starvation, an attack might ensue. Pondering solutions, the dragon suggested inviting the alpha for negotiations. Townsfolk reluctantly agreed and drafted a letter of gently worded entreaties suggesting a gathering. After days of waiting came a simple response etched in charcoal. "I shall allow your meeting on the next full moon." Signed, Razorback, Alpha of the Iron Mountains Pack. As the appointed night arrived, villagers held their breath anxiously. Emerging from moonlit mists came the enormous form of Razorback. Shaggy fur bristling, his piercing yellow eyes swept the scene. Sitting back on powerful haunches, the wolf lord at last addressed Urdess. "I assume you've called me here, dragon, to plead for mercy for these sheep menders? While you all grow plump, my pack starve scanning empty forests." His growl was menacing yet tinged with desperation. Urdess knew much depended on his mediation skills, with a peaceful solution slipping away into the darkness. At first, Razorback snorted at the notion of villages assisting his starving pack, but Urdess patiently appealed to the alpha's nobility buried under desperation. Gradually, the wolf lord was swayed by proposals involving coordinated hunting grounds and ample scrap shares. Tentative trails began, and soon both man and wolf were surprised to feel fears subsiding through cooperation focused on mutual survival instead of destruction. After managing inevitable conflicts, an equilibrium emerged with all enjoying stability and full bellies by respecting interwoven needs. Seeing how this valley transformed from tense standoffs into a thriving community, the legend of unlikely peace brokered by a stalwart yet caring dragon spread. From mountain passes to seaside towns, all marveled at former enemies who learned to count on one another. At last, a model of possibility glimmered against the darkness, for all feeling hopeless divisions could persist eternally unchecked. Impressed merchants and tradesmen from distant realms soon caught wind of the unique harmony between wolf and villager forged in this alpine valley. Seeking to witness legends of former foes thriving together thanks to a mystical dragon's involvement, travelers began arriving with growing frequency. Urdess sheepishly shrugged off praise for his pivotal role, simply pleased at seeing old biases dissolve through building bridges. However, the visitors' abundant coins and wares supplying fresh resources were welcomed by all parties. Before long, the valley gained renown as a refuge of curiosity, second chances, and new beginnings away from endless hostilities haunting much of the war-torn land. Urdess welcomed all seeking the promise of life anew. And share by share, scrap by scrap, cautiously yet inexorably, wounds gave way to fellowship marked by the howls of wolves answered by songs from village windows. Soon Urdess' tiny cave could scarcely contain the gifts of gratitude that arrived daily by carriage and cart for the unlikely savior. "It seems you've sparked more than peace, my friend," chuckled the storyteller proudly. "This place has become a beacon of hope." As word of the valley's amazing transformation spread, visitors arrived hoping to meet the mythical peacemaking dragon and witness old enemies turned cooperative allies. On such busy days, after patiently greeting endless lines of admirers, Urdess would grow quite famished. Noticing this, young village shepherd Jana approached the weary dragon. "Please, kind Urdess, join my family tonight for supper," offered Jana. "'Tis the least we can offer for all you've done." Delighted at the prospect of food and company, the dragon happily accepted. Seated around an immense feast table, Urdess devoured roasted meats and vegetables while townsfolk regaled him with local tales that stretched long into the night. At last, groaning contentedly, the sleepy dragon was escorted by laughing children to a hay pile set aside just for honored guests. As Urdess drifted off with a full belly, he grinned, feeling like one of the community. The next morning, as the bright-spirited dragon soared up towards home, he reflected on bringing enemies together through empathy. I help because it raises everyone higher, Urdess thought to himself. And that is the most magical gift of all. After many evenings of feasting merrily with appreciative villagers, at last came the day for Urdess to return home. As the dragon prepared to depart, Jana and many townsfolk approached holding bundles of goods. "Please take these gifts of thanks, brave dragon," said Jana. "You've given us back our lives through forging understanding." Deeply moved, Urdess accepted the bundles. "Seeing former enemies now as friends is gift enough," replied the dragon. "I was happy to help two sides find solutions." Villagers waved sadly as the noble dragon flapped towards the reddening horizon. Urdess smiled inwardly, warmed, knowing compassion and mediation had turned conflict into camaraderie. Later, as the content dragon snuggled into his cave that night, his thoughts lingered on bringing harmony through building bridges. "That must be why I make a pretty great hero," chuckled Urdess. "Plus I am rather dashing if I do say so myself." Preening his scales, Urdess recounted the adventure's highlights for the narrator. As they discussed future tales, at last, the narrator offered, "Why not a charming story of a magical flower next?" "That sounds positively perfect," declared Urdess, settling in with a sleepy yawn, ready to dream of fresh stories and new friends. Next time on Urdess Ascending. Sweet solutions. Dawn's rosy light glimmered across emerald meadows as Urdess departed his snug cave, invigorated for a fresh day's flight. Recently, Urdess discovered a rare wish-granting enchanted flower and unlocked hidden depths of conviction to selflessly serve others. His pure-hearted desire transported him to the dazzling land of Wish's realm to see that longing fulfilled through good works rippling outward. As he soared over the emerald canopy, a strange new scent tickled the dragon's flared nostrils. Was that peppermint? Curiosity lured him towards the enticing aroma until he found himself in a whimsical kingdom of peppermint-scented forests, fudge-paved lanes, and gingerbread houses, ruled by Queen Sucrosa of the Peppermint Providence.